Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is Monday now, going into Tuesday, April 18th to the 19th, 2011. So glad you could be with us here tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. And we're going to be getting into all the day's news for you here tonight, and as well as our continuing reading series from William Bramley's The Gods of Eden. We were scheduled to have on William Bramley tonight, but I didn't find out until Friday, so we didn't have a show on Friday because I had a gig with the Demigods on Friday, so I wasn't on air, and I guess Man Hydra probably, I guess maybe he didn't hear about that, so we weren't able to update on the website. So I apologize to those people that tuned in at 7 p.m. tonight expecting William Bramley. There was something going on. There was a communication thing where he was he wanted to reschedule, so we rescheduled for this coming up this Wednesday, April 20th, 4/20/2011. We are going to have on William Bramley with us from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So we have rescheduled that show 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time this Wednesday. So we hope you'll join us here for that special guest presentation. Also tomorrow night, this is a big week for us, and a lot of stuff going on here. So coming up tomorrow night, 9 to midnight Central Standard Time, Oracle Broadcasting Network will be making my once-a-month appearance over there with Lee Rogers, Live Free or Die Radio, 9 to midnight Central Standard Time tomorrow night. So definitely tune in over there. It's always a great show when my buddy Lee has me on over there for 3 hours with him once a month, and we go through everything hot and topical. I really enjoyed the show last time, and Lee had some I don't know, it just felt like he had some really good prepared questions for me the last time. So I talked to him this weekend and told him that. So I think he's going to try to do something like that again, but it should be fun. So we got some big shows this week. We've got a big show tonight. We've got a lot of news and a lot of information. We're also going to get into chapter 25 from William Bramley's The Gods of Eden, The King Rats, for you here tonight, The King Rats. So that's what we'll be getting into and reading for you here tonight on the broadcast. I'd love to have emails from you as well tonight. So please give me a shout at globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. And I don't really know what that's in reference to, but I see Ty Girl in the chat room say we're winning. I agree with that. I think that, I mean, the people are really starting to figure a lot of this stuff out. A lot of these operatives now are being exposed in the light of day, and that's really good. I hope to do my part in all that when we have the Secret Right release. Oh, I wanted to give you an update on the Secret Right Volume 2 release. I had set the release date for 5/5/11, and have been trying to get some more funds in here to finish this thing up. And we had someone help us out over the weekend, so thank you so much to that person for helping out and coming through. And they had a problem with the so if you have problems with the donate button at any time, just send me an email at globalrealityshow@gmail.com, and I will send you my direct PayPal email address where you can just send it through your PayPal account. You won't have to mess with that. We've had problems with that, and people have wanted to donate to films and stuff, and they have to use the chip-in banner, which is actually for the bills for the network, and then people think that we got what we needed in the chip-in banner, and then we don't get what we need at the end of the month. So that was the case, and the person made me aware of that, so we had to reset the chip-in banner. So that number there represents what we need by the first of next month. So just wanted to update that. But yeah, we're so what I'm going to do here is, and this person also made a challenge for me to have it done by July 1st at the absolute latest, and I said, well, you know, I'm not going to need that long at this point. So because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, I had talked about last week, and I am still going to do this over the next couple of weeks, be looking for a poll. I'll be putting a poll up for you to choose between, I don't know, 4 or 5 different ideas, and you'll get to vote, and whatever gets the most votes is what I'm going to make my next movie on. I decided to let the listening audience have a say in what they wanted to see me make a movie on. So once we get the poll up, you guys will, whatever you guys choose, will be what I'll make my next film about. But what we're going to do on 5/5/11 is it's going to be a special, only certain people and certain individuals who have been around, who I know have known for quite a while and have donated and have been in the chat room for a while and stuff like that, are going to get have the ability to see the film before anybody else does on 5/5/11. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to have a private screening, maybe show it a couple of times or whatever. But what I plan on doing with that is having you guys have the ability to kind of critique it, not in a technical manner, but in a manner of the information. And if you notice anything that I leave out that you think might be important, then I might be able to slide in there. You guys are going to have an opportunity to have a say in that. So that's kind of a surprise I've been saving. But I had told this person who had helped us out over the weekend that that was going to be the situation. So I wanted to go ahead and let you guys know that. So I think it's going to be cool. I'm trying to make it where you guys have where it's interactive, where you guys have a say in it. It's just not me doing it, but you guys also, have the ability to say, well, yeah, how can you put something about this in there? Or how about this? Or, make your next movie on this, and, whatever you guys pick is what I'll do. I don't know. I think that's good. I think, it should be something like that where people feel like they're a part of it. People feel like they're doing something, because it's sometimes there's not a lot that people can do when they're just trying to scrape by on a meager existence and working in a slave job. But, that'll give some people, and a lot of you out there who have supported my work and donated to get this movie out, you guys are going to be like producers on this. You guys are going to be producers on this thing. You're going to be like, co-consultants and stuff like that. You'll be able to, have a say in what the final version is. So what we'll do is we'll have the release on the 5th. That'll be a pre-screening. You guys will be able to see things that are missing and let me know about them and stuff I can try to work in. I'll take 2 weeks after that for final add-ins and additions before I send it out to have it manufactured. So 5/5/11 is going to be a special pre-release screening, and then I'm going to take 2 weeks after that. So we're actually going to be able to get this out before the 7/1 deadline that was set for us by our kind donator and friend here to the network. So that's great. I'm very excited about this and wanted to relay that to you guys and give you guys the update on. We had to pay the screen bill today, so just use the donate button there. Use the chip-in banner if you want to help us with the bills and stuff for the month. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. I'm going to jump right into this news here tonight and get through all of it. Whew. Man, it's a Monday, isn't it? I gotta go with this one first. There's a lot of important news tonight. It'd be hard to say one thing is more important than the other, but I got to go with this because to me, I don't know, man. I see this as a really big, important piece of information relating to things I have talked about with the ancient and mysterious rock wall under Rockwall, Texas, where there may have been, technology hidden by extraterrestrials after the fall of Atlantis and all this other crazy, wild stuff. Well, I had talked about many times on the show. There was something I had read that it was speculated, or not really speculated, there was a rumor going around that when John F. Kennedy came to Dallas the day of the assassination, November 22nd, 1963, after the parade was over, he was scheduled to go to the International Trade Mart, which is now the World Trade Center in Dallas. And there he was going to give a speech that was going to be televised on TV, in which he was going to talk about the existence of extraterrestrials and these things being found in Rockwall, Texas. And of course, they were just digging out this basically like a crevasse or something, like a valley type thing. And then within 3 months of Kennedy being assassinated, they've got this lake constructed and built hurriedly, and then allowed to fill up with water, where the gentlemen that are doing the construction work are not allowed to retrieve their caterpillars and backhoes and all this stuff. They're ordered to leave them down there. Why? They were trying to cover their tracks. Well, I've talked about that before, and it seems very plausible. And with this story tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I'll let you judge. This is unbelievable to me. More out of the FBI vaults, it seems. Was JFK killed because of his interest in aliens? Secret memo shows president demanded UFO files 10 days before his death. This is unbelievable. This really, to me, folks, leads a lot of credence to the idea that he was in Dallas going to reveal these revelations of finding these extraterrestrial civilizational remains. I really am shocked and blown away by this, kind of just dumbfounded. Man, it's really hard to even talk about, man. It's just the implications of this. Because, there's certain things, man, a lot of this information that I've talked about here on the show with you guys, with the Rockwall stuff and the CMP stuff through the years, all this stuff. I don't know if you guys know where this stuff comes from me. This comes from the pit of my gut. This comes from a place that I feel and believe beyond just, I don't just get up here and say this stuff about these people as random shit talking or trying to be cool and expose everybody, and everybody's in on the conspiracy and everything like that. It's really not about that for me. But when a piece of information I come across makes me feel it in the pit of my stomach, then I know that it's true. And all the big things that I've found have done that. And this thing with Kennedy and the whole Rockwall thing, it really always has for me. Kind of feel like there's a reason why what woke me up to all this was the Kennedy assassination stuff. I mean, hell, I grew up in and around Dallas my entire life, folks. And I didn't know until I was like 13 or 14, maybe 15 years old, something like that the Kennedy assassination ever even happened. I didn't even know about it. Nobody talked about it, man. In Dallas, nobody talked about it. Everybody wanted to forget it ever happened and just move on and never bring it up. And my grandmother had some old newspaper clippings from the day in her safety deposit box, and she broke them out and showed them to me one day, and I felt my first taste of it. And then I found Crossfire by Jim Marrs in the book at the library at the little podunk school I went to. I mean, you imagine that? My God, look at the draconian stuff they're doing now with books and this Fahrenheit 451 stuff that's going on. My God, you wouldn't find a Jim Marrs book in a library, but there was one. I mean, that's, I just think about that. Had it gone differently, I not found that information. I mean, I may have found it before, or later, but an uncovered letter written by John F. Kennedy to the head of the CIA shows that the president demanded to be shown highly confidential documents about UFOs 10 days before his assassination. The secret memo is one of two letters written by JFK asking for information about the paranormal on November 12th, 1963, which had been released by the CIA for the first time. Author William Lester said the CIA released the documents to him under the Freedom of Information Act after he made a request while researching his new book, A Celebration of Freedom, JFK and the New Frontier. The president's interest in UFOs shortly before his death is likely to fuel conspiracy theories about his assassination. Alien researchers say the latest documents released to Mr. Lester by the CIA add weight to the suggestion that the president could have been shot to stop him from discovering the truth about UFOs. In one of the secret documents released under the Freedom of Information Act, JFK writes to the director asking for the UFO files. I mean, my God, you guys see this now? Especially after we've been reading William Bramley. Doesn't this make so much more sense to you now? When you see the ritualistic manner in which he was killed, when you see the players, with the Hunt family and all these people that connect back into the CMP connections and all the rest of it, and all these Knights of Maltas that were involved in it. The ones that are working on behalf of the custodial masters. And they're the ones that created this phony conspiracy movement where they throw up these decoy things and these, distractions. And the real perpetrators still go on. And we find out that these people in this conspiracy movement have connections to these people like the Hunts. I mean, my God, folks, some listener sent me a video over the weekend where Eustace Mullen says on tape that he worked for the Hunt family and lived in their mansion. Now, on top of the fact that I know he also worked for Willis Carto and his connections, my goodness, I always loved Eustace Mullins. He was always somebody I thought was, a good researcher and stuff and was one of the first ones out. But my God, he was there when the John Birch Society was being formed. He was, he was on the inside of this stuff too. And unfortunately, I got to call it out. I got to put it out there. I got to put it in my movie. Again, it's not stuff you'd like to have to do, but the truth is the truth. You got to put it out there. You can't just, you be selective about what you want to put, then you're no different than they are. In one of the secret documents released under the Freedom of Information Act, JFK writes to the director asking for the UFO files. In the second memo sent to the NASA administrator, the president expresses a desire for cooperation with the former Soviet Union on mutual outer space activities. The previously classified documents were released under the Freedom of Information Act to teacher William Lester as part of a research for a new book about JFK. He said that the JFK's interest in UFOs could have been fueled by concerns about relations with the former Soviet Union. One of his concerns was that a lot of these UFOs were being seen over the Soviet Union, and he was concerned that the Soviets might misinterpret these UFOs as U.S. aggression, believing that it was some of our technology. I think this is one of the reasons why he wanted to get his hands on this information and get it away from the jurisdiction of NASA so he could say to the Soviets, look, that's not us. We're not doing it. We're not being provocative. But conspiracy theorists said the documents added an interest to a disputed file nicknamed the Burned Memo, which a UFO investigator claims he received in the 1990s. The document, which has scorch marks, is claimed to have been posted to UFO hunter Timothy Cooper in 1999 by an unknown CIA leak, but has never been verified. In a note sent with the document, the apparent leaker said he worked for the CIA between 1960 and 1974 and pulled the memo from a fire when the agency was burning some of its most sensitive files. The undated memo contains a reference to Lancer, which was JFK's Secret Service code name. On the first page, the director of Central Intelligence wrote, as you must know, Lancer has made some inquiries regarding our activities, which we cannot allow. Please submit your views no later than October. Your action to this matter is critical to the continuance of the group. Wow, that's pretty huge. Again, why are they letting this out now? I mean, the Kennedy documents are sealed for how many more decades? Let me read that again. That's a pretty huge statement. Listen to this. On the first page, the director of Central Intelligence, who they don't tell you at that time would have been Alan Dulles. This is sloppy reporting. It's pretty important, motherfucker, who the director of Central Intelligence was at that time. Alan Dulles. You had all these Knights of Malta guys in there. He says, as you know, Lancer has made some inquiries regarding our activities, which we cannot allow. Please submit your views no later than October. Your action to this matter is critical to the continuance of the group. What group? So he was looking into something that may affect some kind of secretive group. Well, what group is that? Was that the group that was working in tandem with the extraterrestrials in exchange for technology, allowing them to do experiments on some citizens? Could it have been that? I don't know. The current owner of the Burn Memo, who bought it from Timothy Cooper in 2001, told AOL News that it shows that when JFK asked questions about UFOs, that the CIA bumped him off. UFO investigator Robert Wood said he tested the paper it was printed on, the ink, age, watermarks, font types, and other markings. He said, I hired a forensics company to check the age of the ink and several other things that you can date using the same techniques you'd use in a court of law. So this is a pretty unbelievable story here. And again, I can't not see a connection to the fact that they've just been more and more coming out with these UFO stories. And now to create this whole new, now they're trying to create a whole new subgenre. And that worries me too. They'll create this whole new subgenre and they'll have all their, usual gatekeeper suspects come out and write book, it'll be something, it'll probably be, Jim Mars and Jim Mars' new book, JFK and UFOs, or whoever. Jim Fetzer's new book, the Kennedy assassination and extraterrestrials. And they'll put it out there. They'll show alleged evidence and they'll get a book tour out of it and a book deal out of it. But will they ever mention this whole rock wall thing? No, probably not ever. And that's what it'll be designed to do. It'll be designed to keep people on the wild goose chase, keep people looking for the reason and all this stuff and grasping at straws and everything else. But the real truth of it will just continue to be relegated to the fringe. That's really what I see happening. It's just a insane story. Well, let's see what else we have here. We got a ton of insane stories here tonight. Thursday night on the show, I talked about this insane hail. We had an insane hailstorm Thursday night here. There was. The streets were covered. The yard was covered. It was insane. And I guess this storm has now has spread and from Thursday all the way until yesterday, I believe. U.S. authorities Monday rushed aid to southern states after powerful tornadoes cut a path of destruction, killing at least 45. They said so there's been something like, 280 tornadoes in the span of a couple of days. I mean, I think this does point in the direction more and more that the weather wars are under full-blown rollout right now. I mean, I think weather wars are full underway. I think the Fukushima thing, I think now somebody's initiating this, or somebody's wanting us to believe that they are. And maybe these are being caused by other electromagnetic anomalies that we've seen evidence of. No possibility of a pole shift, possibility of the Earth losing its magnetic field, whatever have you. But something's definitely going on here. The tragedy began late Thursday in Oklahoma, where a giant twister almost flattened the small town of Tushka, population of 350, tearing up most of its homes and businesses and killing 2 elderly residents. The storm system strengthened and expanded on Friday, whipping up hundreds of more tornadoes that barreled through Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and North Carolina before petering out in Virginia on Saturday night. It is the most significant damage by a tornado since the 80s, and there's another report here. U.S. tornadoes forced shutdown of 2 nuclear reactors in Virginia. So it almost seems as if this is indeed weather warfare, that is indeed going on right now, that they may have been directing this at these nuclear power plants in Virginia to try and create the Fukushima-style disaster here in the United States, which we already got the possibility of happening, especially when you've got that big nuclear reactor, Arkansas Nuclear 1, sitting right in the middle of Little Rock, Arkansas, right dead on the New Madrid fault line. If the New Madrid fault line goes, that motherfucker's going to go, and guess what? It's a GE reactor just like the one in Japan, folks. We're gonna have it. Well, we'll have a Chernobyl right in the middle of the United States, and possibly maybe on the East Coast. I think this is where it's heading. I've talked about this before: the disaster economy, the new weather warfare. I mean, this is the ultimate weapon of destruction that gives them plausible deniability, folks. This is the ultimate weapon of creating chaos, and in the ensuing chaos, coming in and setting up a new order. I think we're here now. A U.S. nuclear power company has disclosed that one of the tornadoes that hit the U.S. at the weekend, killing at least 45 people and causing widespread damage, forced the shutdown of 2 of its reactors. The series of tornadoes that began in Oklahoma late last week barreled across across the country with North Carolina, where 22 people died, the worst hit state. The U.S. nuclear safety regulator said Monday it was monitoring the Surrey nuclear power plant in Virginia. Dominion Virginia Power said the 2 reactors shut down automatically when a tornado cut off power to the plant. A backup diesel generator kicked in too, but to cool the fuel, the regulator said no radiation was released and staff were working to restore electricity to the plant. The tornadoes were among the worst in the U.S. in the past 2 decades. Last year, 10 people died in a tornado in Mississippi, while 57 were killed in North and South Carolina. And, I mean, it's a very real possibility. It's been in the news more and more. We had all this report of these people in London talking about, tinkering with the weather and the rest of this. I think it's going on right now. I think we're right in the middle of it. I think it's gone beyond. I think it used to be just in the hands of a few countries. I think everybody out there now has got weather weapons. I think everybody's using them against each other. And everybody's battling back and forth. And I mean, that's at least what it seems. Maybe it's just a computer system running it all. I mean, I don't know for sure. Just trying to get a dialogue going here, Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. But I do think there's a very real possibility. It could be the weather warfare could be being conducted by a massive AI computer system. And as I talked about, I think it could have been a very real possibility that the Stuxnet virus was sent to the Fukushima nuclear power plant because, they had been selling nuclear fuel rods to Iran, and that this was sent, possibly by the Mossad or British intelligence or the CIA or all three, most likely. But listen to this. There's a couple of stories here along those lines. British nuclear power plant goes dark. Stuxnet worm to blame, ? British Energy, owned by France EDF Energy PLC, has reported an unplanned outage at its Heysham 1 nuclear power plant yesterday. This is an old article. I hate when people do that. Stuxnet, a computer worm that hit and may have severely damaged Iranian nuclear facilities, is the type of cyber weapon that could broadly harm the United States, undermining both society and government ability to defend the nation, says a strongly worded report to Congress. This one's from, this is actually a more recent article. No, this is an old one too. What the hell? Hey, whoever you fucking guys are out there posting old ass articles about this stuff on news websites like Drudge Report and stuff, it's just retarded. Point of the matter is, yeah, they very well may be getting ready to roll out more and more of this weather weaponry, and it very well could be a possibility that all of this stuff, from Stuxnet to these nuclear facilities to the weather warfare, now is just on a giant grid being controlled by AI computers. We know that their accuracy rate goes up, and it seems that the evidence pointing in the direction of this weather warfare is just staggering. Also, on top of the fact that it seems to be being executed in a possible. But again, as I've said, all that could be a cover as well. Maybe that's the smoke screen. Maybe that's what they want us to believe. Maybe they want us to think there's weather warfare going on and it's all being done by this, when actually, in actuality, what it is us moving farther and farther towards galactic alignment and the energy level being raised. I feel it every day. I feel the energy levels going up every single day. I think in some people it's manifesting itself in horrible negative ways, and people are losing their minds and losing their lives and losing whatever have you. And I think in other people it's blossoming and it's finding its most perfect and absolute expression of itself, and it's continuing on. And I think that they may be, again, trying to negate that and swing it back the other way. And get us to believing that they're doing all this weather stuff, when in fact what it is the cyclical part of the cyclical changes that our planet goes through. They don't feel they can keep their order by allowing us to know that they have knowledge of these cyclical changes that happen with galactic alignment and sun cycles and the rest of this stuff. That's really that's really the whole thing. So it's really unimportant whether or not weather warfare is being conducted right now or not, because the fact of the matter is that we have evidence to prove and support both of those ideas. So I think it's important to understand both of those ideas. I think it's important to understand the idea that they do have weather warfare technology. They do have the ability to, and for all intents and purposes, have used this technology. I think it's pretty undeniable they have. Even to a very mainstream person, it's very undeniable they've used this stuff if you look at the evidence. So I think it's very important to know that and be aware, because a lot of people don't even know that this technology really exists because they read the newspaper, and the newspaper tells them, well, they may be working on this technology and they may decide to use this technology at some point, but no. So understand that. Understand the weather warfare technology, but also understand that this ancient knowledge that goes back to the beginning of time and mankind being created by the custodians and all this stuff, this information of cyclical events has been hidden from us. Because they try to use technology to mitigate this. That's what I think the chemtrail and the weather warfare operation is about as well. That's why they were blasting holes in the ionosphere for years, because they had to figure out how to be able to cover that up if it started happening naturally. They had to test it, because they had that would indicate that they had foreknowledge of information that the general public didn't have. So in order to test to see what they would do over a period of time, they had to blast holes in the ionosphere using HAARP and then use mitigation technology through chemtrails and aerosol spraying to see how long it would take to cover that up and what the effects would be. And now they for sure have that. But again, we talked about the two NASA satellites that were going to be up there monitoring aerosols and stuff like that. They mysteriously crashed, both of them, one of which exactly as I had predicted. So I think that we have just as much evidence to support them using this stuff as we do to support the fact that these events may be happening naturally and may be happening as a result of changes in Earth's magnetic field, possible pole shift, blah, 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 scenario 7 ways to Sunday. I think all these are plausible. All of them need to be looked at. And I would just be really skeptical of anybody that tries to push one or the other on you. You know what I mean? You stay away from those people who try to push everything about HAARP on you and say that, oh, yeah, it's all HAARP in all circumstances. It very well may not be. But the energy level is rising, and I think they're quite aware of these cyclical changes, and they're quite aware that we are evolving, and that's why they're ramping everything up every day more and more to try to keep us dumbed down and enslaved and fluoridated and everything else. I meet people all the time. They just, oh man, how do you have so much energy? I'm like, I don't know, just they just want life. They just don't want you to be enthusiastic about life anymore. It's just the way it is. You're a lot harder to control that way. That's for sure. Let's take a break. Come back. We'll get into more news and information for you here tonight on this Monday night Moonbat edition of the Global Reality right here on. Oh, yeah, back here with you on the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thank you for being with us tonight. And we got more news and information for you here on the broadcast tonight. We're also going to be reading from William Bramley's The Gods of Eden tonight, chapter 25, The King Rats. And we're getting into that for you here tonight. It's been a good read. I'm sure it'll continue to be so here as we go through this book. And again, we're going to have William Bramley on the show with us this Wednesday. He has been rescheduled for Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 to 10 Eastern. Miss Janet, if you're nasty, all that stuff. And we'll definitely look forward to having him on the broadcast. Again, my website's www.theglobalreality.com. That's www.theglobalreality.com. That's where this broadcast originates from. The way you keep us commercial free and uncensored and pushing forward in our work is is at the website, and the chip and banner, the donate button is there. And please support our work. We have our listening audience was talking about this with our listener last night in an email. You know, our listening audience and how many YouTube video hits we get and all this stuff. It's not indicative of the support that we get. And being that we're the one of the only, if not the only, network of this kind that if just allows any, I can say whatever I want up here. We don't have commercials. We don't try to sell you anything, but only way we continue is if you support us. So use the chip in banner there if you want to help us out with the month of the bills. We have to meet that by the 1st. And use the donate button for any other amounts. And we also have recurring subscriptions if you want to do that. We're going to be closing out pre-sales for The Secret Right Volume 2 very soon. So if you haven't ordered those yet, do so. But we're going to be closing that down real soon. Then after that, well, the first people that will get their DVDs after the 2-week period, after I edit it, and the rest of it, after we have the first release, everybody that pre-orders is going to get theirs first and all the extra stuff. So there you go. Let's continue on here with the news tonight. I'm sure you all have probably heard about this by now, but Antiquities Chief Zahi Hawass sentenced to 1 year in jail. Very interesting after we were talking about this with our guest, William Henry, on the show a couple of weeks ago. Minister of State Antiquities Affairs Zahi Hawass has been sentenced to 1 year in jail on Sunday for refusing to fulfill a court ruling over a land dispute. The Egyptian criminal court also said Hawass must be relieved of his governmental duties and ordered him to pay a LE 1000 penalty. Hawass failed to adhere to a ruling in favor of his opponent over a land dispute when he was in charge of the Supreme Council of Antiquities. The Supreme Council of Antiquities appealed the court ruling, arguing the land includes monuments and therefore should be treated as government-owned land. Hawass was recently appointed as Antiquities Chief in the newly formed cabinet of Prime Minister Issam Sharaf. So, yeah, as he said, I can't live without the Antiquities, and the Antiquities can't live without me. Yeah, well, we'll have to see, won't we? And, this guy just goes and digs on anybody's land. He doesn't care. Oh, it's government land now. There's Antiquities on, so now your land belongs to the government. No, fuck you. Oh, man, that guy is such a snake. It was just kind of ironic we had just been talking about that with William Henry on the show. World Bank president says we're one shock away from a crisis. The president of the World Bank has warned that the world is one shock away from a full-blown crisis. Robert Zoellick cited rising food prices as the main threat to poor nations who risk losing a generation. He was speaking in Washington at the end of the spring meetings of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. Meanwhile, G20 finance chiefs, who also met in Washington, pledged financial support. Well, this came out on Sunday. And then as that came out on Sunday, what did we see happen today? You guys see the stock market numbers today? Woo, stanky. S&P sounds alarm on U.S. debt. Wall Street shares slump as S&P downgrades U.S. debt outlook. Shares fell heavily on Wall Street on Monday after a leading ratings agency fanned fears of Europe's debt crisis spreading across the Atlantic by issuing a strong warning about America's failure to tackle its budget deficit. In a move seen by Wall Street as a shot across the bows of bickering politicians in Washington, Standard & Poor's said it was cutting the outlook on the U.S. long-term rating from stable to negative for the first time since the attack on Pearl Harbor 70 years ago. The announcement surprised the financial markets, where attention in recent months has been focused on the problems of the weaker nations of the Eurozone. Renewed speculation that Greece will be forced to default on its debts led to a sharp sell-off in the euro, but S&P stressed that the U.S. was not immune from the sovereign debt crisis. In New York, the Dow Jones Industrial Average ended the day down 140 points, or 1.1%, with the dollar weaker on the foreign exchanges and yields rising on U.S. Treasury bills. The FTSE 100 in London was down 126 points at 58.70, a drop of more than 2%. As ongoing concerns about the euro debt's debt crisis were compounded by the setback for the world's biggest economy. George Osborne, the chancellor, seized on the S&P warning as vindication for the coalition's stance towards deficit reduction. S&P did the same to the UK before the election, but revised us back to stable following the spending review because we had a credible deficit plan, a senior Osborne aide said on Monday. So they're setting the stages. They're setting the stages for this. We have the report that came out last week about the new currency being made. They're doing all this. See how they're doing this, folks? They are doing everything they can to get people to believe that we are in the end times and that the revelation and the doom and gloom are coming, so that they can corrupt the power and the energy of manifestation, specifically manifestation used in a positive way. They sure as hell don't want us manifesting the uprising of humanity against its custodial rulers. Now, do they know? No, they need to prey on this embedded programmed religious cult belief system and indoctrinate us with fear and negative energy and everything else so that we manifest the negativity. They're doing their damnedest. I mean, they're trying everything. UFOs, aliens, spiritual warfare. Technologies can't replace God, says the Pope. Well, we'll see, won't we? We'll see. The way these guys are going, that's exactly what they want. They want to replace God with technology so they can then be God. And I believe that's a part of the master plan. I think that's a part of what the elite, the bloodlines are. I believe that's what the great work is. They're supposed to gain the technology that the custodial masters had and then travel to other galaxies and seed life there in the same way they did. I believe that's what the great work and all of this stuff is about. I don't believe the gold is being harvested and rounded up to be shipped off to Nibiru to be put into their atmosphere. I don't believe that at all. Probably more closely what it is they're using this to create advanced technology, cyborgs, human computer interfaces. All these things require mass amounts of gold. So I believe it's going through technology that these people are using to amass the abilities to merge with machines and become living gods. That's where I think it's going. That's where my research is taking me. This is not really a big surprise here. Secret memos expose link between oil firms and the invasion of Iraq. Really? Wouldn't have never have guessed that. It's just coming right out with it now. Oh, yeah, by the way, the oil firms were completely behind the invasion of Iraq. Their same interests were completely behind 9/11. But here it is, and this is from the London Independent. Again, this is not the Tinfoil Times. This is not the crazy kookery express. This is the London Independent, a well documented mainstream news source. And yet people just still go on about their business. Oh, yeah. Hey, did you hear they linked the oil firms to the invasion of Iraq and 9/11 and everything else? Yeah, I heard about that. But, I don't really care about the news. I don't really keep up with politics. Don't you love that? You ever bring up some topic to somebody and go, hey, man, you know that the only reason they invaded Iraq was, for the oil and for, blah, 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 whatever, get the antiquities of this. Oh, I don't like politics. Oh, no, I didn't talking about politics. Well, that wasn't politics. Politics is arguing about or talking about, one of the left-right puppets of the political process. Talking about events and news and things that you should be informed about is not politics, you dumb fucks. God damn, clean your fucking brains out. You've been cramming garbage in your head, in your eyes, in your ears since mommy and daddy plopped you down in front of that built-in babysitter and plugged you in front of 5,000 channels. I mean, I've literally heard people say that. You bring, oh man, look at this, look at these chemtrails, man, look what they're spraying in the sky. Oh man, I don't like politics. I don't get into talk about politics. Well, no, nobody asked you to talk about politics. Be aware of what's happening around you. That's not, you having to be informed about, the political process even, or puppet candidate on the left or puppet candidate on the right or anything else. Only thing anybody's asking you to do is to pay attention to things that are around you so that they can't be used against you. More and more people are. That's good. On top of these earthquakes, on top of these freak tornadoes and crazy weather patterns. We also had two small earthquakes around parts of the Bay Area in San Francisco on Monday, which ironically marked the 105th anniversary of the great 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Okay, so let me get this straight. So today was the 105th anniversary of the great 1906 San Francisco earthquake, and they had a 3.4 magnitude quake today. So that tells us either one of two things. Either, ha, 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 this was a joke by the boys that run the earthquake machines, and they said, oh, let's fuck with them. It's 105th anniversary. Let's give them a little 3.4 and rattle them a little bit, so they think another big earthquake's coming on the anniversary of the other one. Ha, ha, ha. Let's just say that. It could be that. You never know. But what if what is going on deeper here is the fact that these things happen in a cyclical manner? Meaning they may be, horrible, bad, horrible, catastrophic one time. And then the next time it happens, it may be a 3.4 and it's just minor, nothing else. But still, regardless of the strength of the earthquake, you still have proof that you are seeing an earthquake on a cyclical pattern. That very well could be what is going on here. And I think that, as we were talking about earlier, that's what they know. That's what they don't want us to know, that they have knowledge of all this, because then, of course, people would say, well, if you have knowledge of all this, then, we could be warning people and stopping this. But that's not good for the disaster economy. They need death toll. They need destruction so they can come back in and rebuild and, do a little depopulation while they're at it. It's just, it's business to them. It's just they run in and run their little op, and they're in and out, and they continue on business as usual. Let's see what else we have here. Well, while we're on the subject of earthquakes here, here's a ridiculous story for you out of the Daily Mail. Is climate change causing earthquakes? Extreme weather is moving the tectonic plates. Scientists claim, now it's the extreme weather, right? Not these cyclical things where you think, it's a damn gas guzzlers driving around there. Jesus Christ. People who are ridiculed for saying that earthquakes are a result of global warming could actually be right. Long-term climate change has the potential to spin the Earth's tectonic plates, according to a new study. So let's retranslate that then. Okay, but it's the definition of climate change, isn't it? Because, see, the definition of what it really is a perimeter they don't allow to be in the discussion. They say, it's, greenhouse gases, or it's fluorocarbons, or it's, whatever it is now, carbon emissions, And they never allow into that discussion, well, this could actually be as a result of patterns that change with the sunspot cycles on the sun, solar maximums, solar minimums, and how that affects Earth and its magnetic field because of the magnetic field that's coming from the sun, blah, blah, blah. That's not allowed into the discussion. So, yes, I will say, I would be the first to say that earthquakes are a result of climate change, but not the definition of climate change that Al Gore wants to sell you. I mean climate change that is coming as a result of solar maximums, solar minimums, and where the planet is, where the sun is when we reach the moment of galactic alignment. The Freemasons have known about this for years. Even before them, you had the Pythagorean mystery religions, the Pythagorean mystery schools, and the Egyptian mystery religions. All these people who had secret knowledge going back through the years have all well known about these cyclical changes. The Mayans knew about these as well. So again, it's the definition. They skew the definition. It's the same thing they do with religion and everything else. So people don't know what to believe. What else do we have here? Peter Joseph quits the Zeitgeist movement. Oh, take the money and run. Woo, ooh, ooh, go on, take the money and run. Hey, Peter Joseph. And take the money and run. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah. Take the motherfucking money and run. What an op. I mean, my God, I'm glad I wasn't one of those ass clowns. And you guys out there, you know what I'm talking about, that bought into that Venus project. You got to be ashamed of yourselves. My God. There were so many people I saw that bought into that when I went on my show and said, you know what? It's a bunch of it's a bunch of bullshit. And it is, and it's an op, and, you know, they got everybody's money, and now, you know, I'm quitting, and he take the money and run. My goodness. Another huckster, another money, and I mean, he's going to disappear into obscurity just like the loose change guys did. They did the same thing. They came in, made their big bucks, and then just disappeared. And that's what you've got. You've got these, and it's pretty amazing that all this stuff just seems to be garnered around, you know, the ones that are given prominence are always these guys that are hucksters, you know, loose change, tons and tons of publicity. And those guys, you know, took the money and disappeared into the night. Same here. Same that's going on with this Peter Joseph guy now. Yeah, he's just, I'm quitting. Yeah, he's taking the money and going and not going to use it for anything else. And these, you know, there are people that probably have given this guy millions and millions of dollars thinking he was trying to do something that they believed in. And now he's cutting out, taking the cash and running. So I'm sorry. If you didn't see that fucking guy coming a mile away, and a lot of you out there, I know for a fact didn't and really chastise me for exposing him. Man, come on. It's pure insanity. What else do we have here for you tonight? Israel becomes CERN nuclear group member. Israel cabinet on Sunday announced it has approved the country's membership in the European Organization for Nuclear Research, becoming the research group's first non-European delegation. Israel is joining an exclusive club which provides unusual visibility, exposure, prestige, and international status. Yeah, of course, they want to be in on the Stargate opening. Of course they do. He said membership in the organization known as CERN reflected the capabilities of Israeli scientists and constitutes recognition of their ability. Israel had previously held special observer status at the organization, which is best known for its atom smasher, the so-called Large Hadron Collider, which is installed in a tunnel straddling the Franco-Swiss border. Israel first joined the organization in 1991 as an observer state and became a special observer state in 2009, gaining the right to attend restricted sessions discussing the Large Hadron Collider. Why would you have restricted sessions discussing the LHC? I mean, I have a problem with you know, their logo that has a 666 on it, and they're having restricted session meetings, you know. They're deciding who gets to go through and who doesn't. What's going on here? Israeli media reported that the Jewish state faced several hurdles in its bid to become a member, including French fears that Israeli access to CERN tenders could affect France's high-tech industry. Switzerland reportedly expressed initial opposition to Israeli membership, citing Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories. Israel is expected to become a full member of CERN by 2013 after 2 years as an associate member. So interesting stuff there. They're wanting to get in on that action, aren't they? You bet they are. What else do we have here? Well, I think that's pretty much it for news tonight. Wow, cool. I like that. It wasn't too painful tonight. We got into quite a bit of the news for you here tonight. But we're going to take a break, come back, and get into more of William Bramley for you here tonight. Chapter 25, The King Rats, for you right here on the Global Reality, Reality Radio Network, folks. Back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thank you for being with us here tonight. For this late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast, we're going to be continuing on with our reading here tonight from William Bramley's The Gods of Eden, chapter 25, and The King Rats. So I definitely want to make some coffee, drink some Mountain Dew, shoot it intravenously, whatever you got to do. And I've got a couple of emails here I want to go through. I think I've got some I need to go and read. Let's see here what I've got. Oh, by the way, to the person, there was a guy that sent me this email a year and a half ago. I talked about this last week or the week before, that asked me about this picture of this family and the moon landing hangar, and they had the flag and Earth gravity was stiff. And I talked about how he sent me this thing where you could buy the picture. I bought the picture over a year ago. talked about now. This is the third time I've talked about it. I got yet a message from this person saying that my credibility was showing because I hadn't answered his question about the flag. To which I said, I guess you haven't been paying attention. You must not be a very, avid listener, guy. If you hadn't heard me say it, my credibility is showing because you don't know how to tune into the show. You're not tuning into the show. How are you going to know whether or not I'm answering your question or not? Oh my goodness. Calm the fuck down, take a deep breath, and realize that I'm not the enemy. Here's a interesting email here. This says, this is Zohair from Pakistan. Wow, Pakistan. We got listeners in Pakistan. I wasn't aware of that. I've been listening to your show for nearly 3 years now. Wow, well, thank you very much. And I can tell you that it has been a paradigm buster for me. Do you have any observations on why the soul, spirit, after being released from material bondage at the time of death, returns to this material prison again? Is it trapped here for some reason? Is it tricked into coming back? Or are the spirits also in some sort of bondage and are forced to return as they have no choice? I.e., is there a spiritual prison out there where we end up after being released from the physical body at the time of death? A lot of good questions there. Why does the soul and the spirit, after being released from material bondage at the time of death, return to this material prison again? Is it trapped here for some reason? Is it tricked into coming back? The Tibetan Book of the Dead, written, 5,000 years ago, talks about specifically that. And it's instructed that you're supposed to read each one of the pages out of this book in successive days after a person has passed. And supposedly what reading this is supposed to do in front of the, where the body is buried, or in front of the body where the person that died is, for so many days after, each successive page of this reading, supposedly what it does is it transmits the information to the person in the spirit world and gives them instructions on how to not be tricked into coming back down into a material body. That's what these teachings do. And allegedly just by reading them as well and being aware of them, as I am, you basically, it's like you learn that. You know what I mean? You learn, and then that's basically encoded and remembered upon your spiritual body. And it talks about, these demons and spirits and things coming out and tricking you into incarnating back down into a body because you're scared and you're running away from it, but that they're merely illusions, and that you have to bear in mind that these things are illusions and not a threat to you when they come across. And after you do this after so many times, eventually you get to the point where you can merge back with the collective unconscious, the source. And so it seems that all of this information being withheld from us for years by the custodial rulers through whatever mechanisms they use, from the secret societies to the think tanks to everything else, it's all designed to keep us from gaining this knowledge that we are not scared. And after death, when we pass into the spirit world, if we don't allow ourselves to succumb to fear and being tricked into into thinking that we need to reincarnate, we can surpass this. Now, this mirrors exactly to a T what my research has shown me that the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians are into, and what their real secret is. The Rosicrucians absolutely teach that, how to basically transcend the death of the physical body and to not reincarnate again, how to ascend up and go up the chain. That's what they teach. That's why the Rosy Cross represents the soul being crucified upon the body. And because a person is never given the knowledge that they can forgo this and they don't have to incarnate, then people are just constantly believing they're seeing demons and they're going to go to hell, because they're programmed in this life to believe that, they may go to a fiery place of hell with demons. So that's what appears in front of them. And in fear of that, they run back and see the comfortable body on Earth and run back into that. That's one idea. Some people believe that that each soul has to learn a different lesson on each wheel of the wheel of life. And according to the Zodiac wheel, we go through all incarnations until we get back. After we go, and if we learn all the lessons that we're supposed to learn on all of them, then we can ascend. I don't know. But I hope that answers your question there, Zohair. I also have an observation regarding your $1,500 an ounce sell call on gold. We all know that it is not gold, which is appreciating in value, rather the dollar, which is depreciating. Hence, the price of gold, as well as other commodities, is going up. If we sell at $1,500, what do we convert the gold into? Not any of the other paper currencies. Surely, real estate is a bad investment as well. There's only so much storable food you can buy. It does not seem as the price of gold will tank in dollar terms. It really can't with trillions being printed. Gold prices might tank whenever the new currency is introduced in terms of that currency. Do you think this will happen anytime soon? If not, then should we hang on to the gold? I can't really give you an honest answer on that as far as what should you hang on to your gold or not to? Because I'm biased in my answer because of what I believe. You know what I mean? Because like I said, really, you kind of answered your own question. If you're gonna, because you just said that I said, if it gets to 1,500 an ounce to sell. And then you ask me, should you hang on to the gold? Well, that should already tell you what my answer is going to be. I'm saying you should sell. And people always want to get in this revolving minutia, revolving door conversation about what should we change it into. And I'm saying you shouldn't change. You should change it into whatever currency you can get the most with and buy things to be prepared with. That's what that's personally what my opinion is. But you do what you want. I'm not really here to give financial advice, but all I do is tell you how I see it. I don't know how you cannot see the fact that these people are creating, by devaluing the dollar, by continuing to print more and more money, by continuing to get us in more and more debt, is subsequently what is causing this phony inflationary rise of gold. They're doing this so they can get everybody to turn the worthless Federal Reserve notes, that piece of paper that's not backed and worth by anything, into something that is tangible, so they can assume it all later for whatever reason. Well, we're making gold illegal, or whatever, or else we're just going to make it worthless and buy it up for pennies on the dollar and make everybody starve till they give us all their gold, which is not beyond these people. So, like I said, you make your own decision on that, man. I would just, if it was me and I was investing in gold, and I never have invested in gold, I wouldn't put it in anything in their financial system. I would put it in something that is tangible, that may be help you in your ability to survive in what the world's going to be introduced to over the coming years. That's my advice. Let's see what else we have here. Hi, Josh. Love listening to you. You are one of the last Mohicans. Props, brother. Listen, out of all that I've discovered out there, I think that only you are mentally equipped for doing these show topics, but please label them as such if you do, so people looking in this direction will sooner or later discover your insight into it. Okay, groundbreakers. There's a couple. Number one, zombie apocalypse. Tell people to get involved in bioethics before it's too late. Please look into it. Very real. C2C just did a Coast to Coast Image did a show on it only a week ago after I started looking into it. Funny story. I never got into the whole zombie genre and all that, although I've seen all of those movies, but I never really got into the genre. Some people were way off into it. And, I honestly never gave it a second thought that any of the stuff I ever saw in a zombie movie might ever be possible. And right around the time the swine flu broke out, back in 2009, I had come across a story when I was preparing for the radio show one day that talked about this some biomedical facility in the UK running simulations on the event of death toll on the event of a zombie apocalypse. And I started thinking about that and started thinking about what I had found out with bioweapons and studying the history of bioweapons when things like stuff that people don't even know are bioweapons, like Lyme disease and staph infection, all this stuff, all these different bioweapons. So I started looking into that, and I started saying, but my God, this whole thing of spraying people and turning them into zombies and using that, as a weapon, a plausible deniability weapon to depopulate a lot of people, it very well could be they're doing this, that they're running these simulations on it, man, So I hear you, brother. I actually had a couple of months ago, I had a strange dream about it. It was the most vivid dream I've ever had in my life, and I talked about it on the show. That was what was going down. It was a zombie apocalypse. But he's got some other stuff here. He's talking about the zombies, but I want to it's kind of long, so I want to get through this. He says, number 2, statues coming to life, talking statues. Look into giant Huaman statues. Why? Interestingly, if you look into those, there was a mini monkey man with blinking eyes that could fly, killing people for months all around India. Recently, brass talking Buddhas have been popping up. Note, Obanga carries around a Huaman in his pocket and was given a blessed brass or solid gold one by the Hindus. Obanga apparently appears to be Hindu, which Huamans are attributed to. Number 3, synthetic bio. Look into the blue plague. A glyph of Mexico. One guy may be connected to them all. The amazing Craig Venter and the Sorcerer, which may be an undead or an agent of the Archons. High radiation may be a part of all 3 topics. You're a great mind. Interestingly, there are microbes out there that devour radiation and self-assemble nanowires, etc. Essentially, radiation can be used to power nanobots. Hope this expands your view of the big picture like it did for me. Also, newest thing that I'm looking into connected into the zombie thing is Botox. It's a botulism neurotoxin that's just the beginning. It's appearing to be a nano-based technology, nano neurotransmitters setting up artificial neural networks directly to optics and biocontrol mechanisms. You're going to have to get smart. Have to be smart to get to the bottom of that one. It's well hidden. Also, look into Botox apples. It's all madness. So, and he says, cheers. So thank you very much. Great email. And I will definitely look into all those topics and do my best to talk about them here on the show and get more into it. So I'll thank you so much for that email. I appreciate that so much. And again, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. You can send me emails anytime. And I'll do my best to read them on the show and just and look into those. A lot of those topics I knew a bit about. A couple of them I didn't, but I'll look into it and talk about it on the show for you, man. No problem. I like that. Thank you. Appreciate you sending me that stuff, man. All right. We're going to get into Bramley here in just a bit. Again, support our work at the website, theglobalreality.com. Shipping banners there. We're going to meet the bills for the month. Donate button is there if you want to donate to the rest of our work and just help us continue to stay alive. Really what we need. So please help us out if you can. Thank you. Number 25 chapter here, The King Rats, out of William Bramley's The Gods of Eden. We're going to have him with us Wednesday night, April 20th. It's coming Wednesday, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. The King Rats. Throughout all of history, small groups of political and economics elites have belonged to the mystical Brotherhood Network, have profited from the conflicts generated by the network. If ancient Mesopotamia, American, and biblical writings are correct, then those human elites are really only at the top of a prisoner hierarchy. We might label those elites the king rats of Earth. The term king rat comes from a James Clavell novel, which was later made into a Hollywood movie starring George Segal. The story King Rat concerns a group of American and British soldiers being held captive in a Japanese prisoner of war camp during World War II. Through clever bargaining and organizations, one of the American prisoners, Corporal King, manages to amass a wealth of material goods desperately craved by the other prisoners of war. As a result, he sits at the top of the prisoner hierarchy and is often able to buy loyalty with a cigarette or fresh egg. The other prisoners simply call him King, for that is what he is inside the prison. When he embarks on a venture to breed rats as food, he earns the title King Rat, which somehow seems to fit him. King Rat enjoys every luxury craved by the other prisoners, yet the fact remains that he is still a prisoner himself. King Rat can only remain at the top of the pecking order so long as everyone remains imprisoned. At the end of the film, when the war is over and the camp is liberated, he no longer has the prison environment he relied on to stay on top. And freedom he has lost, wondering if he really welcomes the liberation at all. In the final scene of the movie, we see him being driven off in a truck, just another corporal. We sense, however, even if King Rat does not, that he is better off liberated, since the fragile fiefdom that he had could have been easily toppled at any time by Japanese prison keepers. King's life as a liberated corporal is far more secure than his precarious existence at the top of an oppressed prison population. The King Rat of cinema was ultimately a sympathetic character. Those whom we might label the King Rats of Earth are not so endearing, for we will use the term to describe only those individuals who acquire their profits and influence, not by breeding rats, but by helping to breed war and suffering for human consumption. For thousands of years, Earth has had endless successions of king rats. In this chapter, we will look at a particularly interesting group of them. The petty princes of the 18th century Germany. They and the relationship to brotherhood mysticism provided a fascinating look at the curious element of 18th century politics. Politics which have done much to shape the social, political, and economic world we live in today. Germany became the center of Templar Freemasonry on continental Europe. The Knight degrees took on a unique character in the German states, where the degrees were made into a system of Freemasonry called the Strict Observance. The Strict Observance was so named because every initiate was required to give an oath of strict and unquestioning obedience to those ranking above him within the order. The vow of obedience extended to a mysterious figure known as the Unknown Superior, who was said to be the secret leader of the Strict Observance and who was reportedly residing in Scotland. Members of the Strict Observance first passed through the Blue degrees before they were initiated into higher degrees of Scottish Master, Novice, Templar, and Professed Knight. The Unknown Superior went by the title Knight of the Red Feather. Although secrecy in the Strict Observance was very strong, several leaks revealed that the Strict Observance was true to the Scottish degrees by agitating against the House of Hanover in favor of the Stuarts. The Strict Observance spread quickly throughout the German states and has become the dominant form of Freemasonry there for decades. It also became influential in other countries, such as France, which has the second largest center of Freemasonry in Europe. Germany was the largest. In all nations, Strict Observance members pledged obedience to the Unknown Superior of Scotland. According to J.M. Roberts, writing in his book, The Mythology of the Secret Societies, the Strict Observance evoked suspicion and hostility in France because of its German origins, and great excitement was aroused by the implied recognition by the Grand Orient, the supreme Masonic body, of the authority of the unknown superiors of the Strict Observance over French Freemasons. One of the earliest Grandmasters of the Strict Observance was G.C. Marshall. Upon Marshall's death in 1750, the position was assumed by a German from Saxony, the Baron von Hund. The Strict Observance degrees had nearly all been created by the beginning of von Hund's Grand Mastership, but von Hund has been credited for doing the most to put them in the recognizable form. Von Hund stated that he had been initiated into the Order of the Temple, i.e. the Templar Knights, by Lord Kilmarnock, a prominent nobleman from Scotland. Von Hund also claimed that he had met both the Unknown Superior and Charles Edward. Like Michael Ramsey, von Hund was on a mission to reestablish the Templar Knights in Europe. Von Hund sought to raise money to repurchase the lands which had been seized from the Templar centuries earlier. Although von Hund had many successes, he was branded a fraud by his enemies, and he eventually fell into disgrace. The Strict Observance gained a strong following among the German royal families, although some opposed it and remained loyal to the English Masonic system. This is a puzzle. Some royal families involved in the Strict Observance were politically allied to Hanover. Why would they participate in a form of Freemasonry which secretly opposed the English House of Hanover? In some cases, it appears that the royal members had joined the Strict Observance after it ceased to be virulently pro-Stuart. Certainly, the Stuart cause was waning by the 1770s when some of those German princes emerged as strict observance leaders. On the other hand, there is another important factor to be considered. The woes of England caused by the Stuart Rebellion and by other conflicts were a source of immense profit to those German principalities, including to Hanover. That same small clique of German royal dynasties, which had been marrying into foreign royal families and then overthrowing them, made big money from the conflicts which they helped to create. Conflicts which were also being stirred up by the Brotherhood Network. To better understand this situation, we must briefly digress and review the history of the Teutonic Knights after they were defeated in the Crusades. When the Crusades ended, the Teutonic Knights, like the Templar and Hospitaller Knights, found work elsewhere. In 1211, while under the leadership of the Grand Master Hermann von Salza, the Teutonic Knights were invited to Hungary to aid a struggle going on there. For their services, they were awarded the district of Burzenland in Transylvania, which was then under Hungarian rule. The Knights outlived their welcome, however, and were expelled because they demanded too much land. After their ouster from Transylvania, the Knights were invited by Conrad, Polish Prince of Masovia, to help fight between the Slavs in Prussia. The Knights were again rewarded with land. This time they received large sections of Prussia. The Knights gained another benefactor, German Emperor Frederick II, the man who had made the 10-year peace treaty we discussed in Chapter 15. Although Frederick had acted as a man of peace, he was unfortunately also associated with this organization of war. In 1226, Frederick empowered the Knights to become overlords of Prussia. Frederick awarded to Grand Master von Salza the status of a prince of the German Holy Roman Empire. Frederick was also responsible for a reorganization of the order. The Teutonic Knights were thoroughly entrenched in Prussia by the year 1229. They built solid fortresses and imposed Christianity on the native Prussian populace with an energetic military campaign. By 1234, the Knights were politically autonomous and served under no authority except the Pope. The Knights surrendered their extensive Prussian buildings to the Pope in name and received them back as fiefs. In reality, the Teutonic Knights were the true rulers of Prussia, not the Pope. With papal support, the ranks of the Teutonic Knights ballooned rapidly. Many Germans traveled to Prussia to enter the new and potentially lucrative theater of war. This migration eventually brought about the complete Germanization of Prussia. Commerce and industry eventually replaced armed conflict, and Prussia became a major commercial center. By the early 1300s, the dominion of the Teutonic Knights extended over most of the southern and southeastern coastline of the Baltic Sea. The Teutonic Knights had 2 centuries in which to leave their indelible mark on Central and Western Europe before losing power. The Knights had established the militant character of Prussia that would define the region for centuries to follow. By the early 1500s, the fate of the Teutonic Knights had worsened. They were driven out of West Prussia by Poland and were forced to rule East Prussia as a Polish fief. By 1618, Prussia fell completely under the rule of the Hohenzollern dynasty. This effectively marked the end of autonomous Teutonic rule. Despite continuing friction between the Knights of the Hohenzollerns over the control of Prussia, the Hohenzollerns kept a significant element of the Knight organization alive. At least one Hohenzollern, Albert of Brandenburg-Ansbach, had been a Grand Master of the order around 1511. Hohenzollern Prussia adopted the colors of the Teutonic cloaks, black and white, as the official hues of the land. The 2-headed Teutonic bird became Prussia's national symbol. Like the other knightly organizations of the Crusades, the Teutonic Knights were eventually turned into a secret fraternal society, this time under the sponsorship of the Royal Habsburg family of Austria. The Teutonic Knights still survive in that form today. Under the rule of Hohenzollerns, the power and influence of Prussia grew. Prussia became a formidable player in the tangled political arena of Europe. By the 18th century, the Hohenzollerns had also become extensively intertwined with their German royal neighbors through marriage. For example, history's most famous Hohenzollern, Frederick II, better known as Frederick the Great, had been set up by his father in 1733 to marry Elizabeth Christina of the northwestern German Principality of Brunswick. In 1569, the Brunswick dynasty had founded the Brunswick-Lundberg family line, which later became the Hanover family. Frederick's mother was Sophia Dorothea, sister of Hanoverian King George II. Generations earlier, Frederick the Great's great-grandfather had married Henrietta, daughter of the Prince of Orange. Political marriages, because they were usually loveless, were often unsatisfactory to those who were wed. This proved to be true in the joining of Frederick the Great to Elizabeth Christina of Brunswick. Frederick had wanted to marry one of the Hanoverians, but his father's stern will prevailed. Despite his unhappy arrangement, Frederick still had amicable ties to others in the Brunswick family. It was in Brunswick that Frederick, not yet the King of Prussia, was secretly initiated into Freemasonry on August 14, 1738, against his father's wishes. The initiation had been authorized by the Lodge of Hamburg in Hanover. The lodge practiced the blue degrees of English Freemasonry. 2 years after his initiation, Frederick II became the King of Prussia. He then publicly revealed his Masonic membership and initiated others into the order. At Frederick's command, a Grand Lodge was established in Berlin called the Lodge of the Three Globes. Its first meeting was held on September 30th, 1740. This lodge began as an English system lodge, and it had the authority to grant charters. How long Frederick remained active in Freemasonry is still debated today. Some historians believe that he ceased his Masonic activities in 1744 when the demands of war occupied his full attention. His general cynicism later in life eventually extended to Freemasonry. Nevertheless, Frederick's name continued to appear as the authority for Masonic charters even after he was reportedly inactive. It is uncertain whether Frederick merely lent his name to the granting of charters or was personally involved in the process. Within about a decade of Frederick's Masonic initiation, the strict observance and its Scottish degrees were in the process of almost completely taking over German Masonry. Frederick's Lodge of the Three Globes became decidedly strict observance when its new statutes were adopted on November 20th, 1764. On January the 1st, 1766, Baron von Hund, Grand Master of the strict observance, constituted the Three Globes as a Scot or directorial lodge empowered to warrant other strict observance lodges. All lodges already warranted by the Three Globes, except one, the Royal York Lodge, went over to the strict observance Scottish system. Whatever Frederick's Masonic involvement may or may not have been, he and his Prussian kingdom profited from the conflicts of England. That Scottish Masonry, I'm having to scroll down here, so bear with me for a second. Pictures. Oh yeah, the original American flag. All sing on it, with contributing to, despite his domestic liberalism and professed anti-Machiavellian beliefs, Frederick proved by his actions to be as warlike and as shrewdly manipulative in the complex web of European politics as any man of his day. His goal was the militaristic expansion of the Prussian kingdom. He was not above aiding insurrection and being fickle in his alliances to achieve his goal. In the 1740s, Frederick had a political alliance with France. France was actively supporting the Jacobites against the Hanoverians, and rumors circulated that in London, that Frederick was helping the Jacobites prepare for their big invasion of England in 1745. Frederick afterward shifted his alliances back to England and continued to profit from England's woes. He not only gained territory, but money as well. Sharing in Frederick's monetary profits were other German principalities, including Hanover itself. They all made their money by renting German soldiers to England at exorbitant prices. Hanover had already been engaged in this enterprise for decades. The rental of German mercenaries to England was perhaps one of the great scams of European history. A small clique of German families overthrew the English throne and placed one of their own upon it. They then used their influence to militarize England and involve it in wars. By doing so, they could milk the British treasury by renting expensive soldiers to England to fight in wars that they helped to create. Even if the Hanoverians were unseated in England, they would go home to German Hanover with a handsome profit made from the wars to unseat them. This may be one of the keys to the puzzle of why some members of this German clique supported Scottish Templar Freemasonry and later took on leadership positions within it. England rented German mercenaries through the signing of subsidy treaties, which were really business contracts. England began entering into subsidy treaties almost immediately after the German takeover of their country by the House of Orange in 1688. As we recall, one of the first things that William and Mary did after taking the English throne was to launch England into war. The German mercenaries were a constant burden to England. One early mention of them is found in the correspondence of the Duke of Marlborough. Marlborough was an English leader fighting on the European continent during France during the War of the Spanish Succession. Hanover was running troops to England at that time, years before Hanover took the British throne. On May 15, 1702, Marlborough discussed the need to pay the Hanoverian troops so that they would fight. If we have the Hanover troops, I am afraid there must be 100,000 crowns given them before they will march, so that it would be very much for the service if that money was ready in Holland in my coming. 4 days later, 22,600 pounds were allocated by the English government to pay the mercenaries. Prussia and Hesse were also supplying mercenaries to Britain during that war. Marlborough's woes in getting them paid and continued. Writing from The Hague on March 26, 1703, he lamented, "Now that I come here to The Hague, I find that the Prussians, Hessians, nor the Hanoverians have not received any of their extraordinaries or the fees." England's next major European war was the War of the Austrian Succession. Frederick the Great was allied with France against England at this time. This did not stop other German principalities from continuing their business relationship with England, especially Hanover and Hesse. Although Hanover now sat on the British throne, it was not about to cease its profitable enterprise. If anything, Hanover's British reign gave that German principality greater leverage to drive even harder bargains with England for Hanoverian mercenaries. A letter written on December 9th, 1742 by Horace Walpole, Britain's former prime minister, discussed the enormous fee England was asked to pay for renting 16,000 Hanoverian troops. The pamphlet mentioned by Walpole contained these amusing words: "Great Britain hath been hereto strong and vigorous enough to bear up Hanover on its shoulders, and through wasted and wearied out with the continental fatigue she is goaded on. For the interest of this island, England must for this once prevail, or we must submit to the enogamy of the becoming only a money province to that electorate, Hanover." In the end, opposition to the subsidy treaties failed. England truly became Hanover's money province, and the subsidy treaties were indeed lucrative. For example, in the contract year beginning December 26, 1743, the British House granted £393,733 for 16,268 Hanoverian troops. This may not seem like much until we realize the value of the pound was very much higher than it is today. To raise some of this money, the Parliament went as far as to authorize a lottery. At the same time that England was fighting the War of the Austrian Succession, it was also fighting the Jacobites. More German troops were needed on that front. On September 12th, 1745, Charles Edward of the Stuart family led his famous invasion of England by way of Scotland. Bonnie Prince Charlie, as Charles Edward was called, captured Edinburgh on September 17th and was approaching England with the intent of taking London. That meant more money for Hesse. On December 20th, 1745, Hanoverian King George II announced that he had sent for 6,000 Hessian troops to fight in Scotland against Charles Edward. King George presented Parliament with a bill for the Hessian troops. It was approved. The bill for the Hessian troops, the Hessians landed on February 8th of the following year. Meanwhile, back on the European front, England hired more soldiers from Holland, Austria, Hanover, and Hesse to pursue England's interests there. The bills were staggering, and it's a staggering amount of reading. And there's a staggering amount left, so I'm just going to stop right there for tonight. Because my voice is about had enough tonight, so it's kind of shot. So, it's a good show. It's a lot to take in there. So we'll get back through that on the next broadcast. Don't forget, tomorrow night going to be on with Lee Rogers, 3 hours, 9 to midnight Central Standard Time, over at Oracle Broadcasting, and oraclebroadcasting.com is the website. 9 to midnight Central Standard Time, 3 hours, commercial free. Me and Lee are going to get into a lot of topics over there tomorrow night. And also coming up on Wednesday, this Wednesday, 4/20, April 20th, 2011, William Bramley, author of what we're reading here for you on the show, Gods of Eden. He'll be on with the 7 to 9 Central this coming Wednesday. Support our work with the Chip-In banner, folks. We need to meet that goal before the end of the month. And also use the donate button there if you want to donate larger amounts to us and help us grow and help us become what I believe we deserve to be. And that is a voice whose time has come to be heard. And not just mine, but yours and all of ours, and everybody out there who is willing to take themselves out of this program box they tell us we have to live in. We don't have to. We don't have to live in their world. We can create our own. Let's do that, shall we? Please support our work if you can at theglobalreality.com. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. We'll see you next time. You guys have a great night. Take care.